1 in every 3 women will be physically or sexually abused in their lifetime. This will most likely be at the hands of an intimate partner. These statistics have not changed in the past 10 years. People Opposing Women Abuse proposes ending domestic violence by first ending domestic silence. Let's discuss this further now with Thandiwe McCloy from Power. Thank you very much for speaking to us, Thandiwe, and welcome to ENCA. Just to explain to us, what do you mean by that statement that we need to end, the silence first before we end the violence?
So the End Domestic Silence Initiative is being run by T-Brand Joko in partnership with Power. And the End Domestic Silence Initiative aims to end the silence surrounding domestic violence. Many women remain quiet about the domestic violence that they are suffering because of shame and fear. But it is only by ending the silence that women can get the support they need to end their abuse. And in addition to working to end the silence around domestic violence, the campaign is also working to increase awareness and education around domestic violence.
Well, every year during this time, government from either national or even all spheres of government, actually provincial and even municipal governments, usually will launch their own campaigns for the 16 days of activism. Different organizations will be spoken to by the media, etc. Many invites, right? And we've had a presidential summit, the second ever to happen in South Africa ever since President Cyril Ramaphosa took up office. But it doesn't seem that anything is really changing. It looks like there's nothing that we're really doing, and maybe we should stop blaming everything on government, because how do we blame government for a societal issue?
Yes, definitely. The fight against gender-based violence lies with us all. We all need to take steps to address the scourge in our country in various ways. We need to ensure that we raise our children in non-violent households, so they don't go on to normalize abuse, and then which increases their risk of either becoming victims or perpetrators of gender-based violence. And also in South Africa, there tends to be a culture where if you hear the neighbor beating up his girlfriend, being abusive, people turn away and say, I don't want to get involved. But it's important that we all take action and contact the police on 10111 when we do hear such incidences. Yeah.
And Thandiwe, I've had this debate with a few of my colleagues before, where I said unemployment also sort of exacerbates the issue, right, in terms of government not being able to create employment, although this is a societal issue. Because if you empower women, I think at least it won't eradicate the issue completely, but if you empower women to have their own businesses or to have their own jobs, to be able to make their own money, then you eliminate at least the part where women feel that they need a man to be able to survive materialistically, right?
Definitely. Many women stay trapped in abusive relationships because they are financially dependent on their partners. So through the End Domestic Silence initiative that Power is running together with Joko, we have been running various skills development programs since the beginning of the year. And these skills development programs include whip baking, manicures, pedicures, baking, sewing, computer skills, driving, HIV lay counseling skills. And it's wonderful that some women have harnessed these skills and are now running businesses and generating an income, which reduces the risk of them going back to abusive partners, getting into other abusive relationships, or even being lured by fake job opportunities that put them in danger. Some women get lured by fake job opportunities out of vulnerability and desperation. So the skill development opportunities definitely are a protective factor in addressing gender-based violence. And I was speaking to some women who have benefited from these skills development programs, and they say it's also helping to boost their confidence and their hope in the future. So there are many very positive effects.
So what exactly is it in this skills development project that is offered to women? What kind of skills do you offer to them?
So it's nail care, HIV counseling skills, computer skills, baking, sewing, farming. Yeah, those are the various skills that are being provided.
Just lastly, Thandi, we're looking at this 16 days of activism against women and child abuse. We always hear of many cases prior to this date, during this date, and even afterwards. I don't know if maybe South Africa is only concentrating on these 16 days and not concentrating on the fact that we have this problem for 365 days. I mean, the minister, every time he releases crime statistics, GBV and femicide crimes seem to be growing and getting more and more violent.
Definitely, like if you look at the latest statistics, it was 989 women being killed from July to September. That's a huge amount. That just shows you the high rates of violence against women in our country. And the 16 days of activism is very, very important because it does put a spotlight on this crisis in our country, but it's important that we pay attention to the scourge of gender-based violence and femicide throughout the year.
And just lastly, sorry, I know I did say that that was my last question. So right now the program is, including skills development for women to make sure that they are independent and, like you said, they feel more confident in themselves and more confident or hopeful about the future, right? What do we do about the men? Because, maybe us leaving them behind and not showing the boy child as well that we are supportive, that they can cry if they are sad, etc. Maybe that also still needs to be something that is included in this program, or is it?
Yeah. So currently with the End Domestic Violence Initiative, that's focusing specifically on women. But as power, we are more and more seeing the need to include men in the fight against gender-based violence. Earlier on this year, we had a very successful dialogue in Tembisa, which is a gender-based violence hotspot, where we got men together to talk about the issue of gender-based violence. And in that discussion, it was highlighted, this whole issue where we tell the boy child you are not allowed to cry, boys don't cry, is very, very dangerous, because then men do not learn to address negative emotions, to talk about their own trauma, and then there's high likelihood of them bottling up all these emotions and then lashing out to those most vulnerable around them, the women and the children. So definitely there definitely has to be more investment in programs targeted at men to change their negative attitudes towards women and to help them deal with negative emotions better. There is a wonderful program by Crime Stars being carried out called What About the Boys, which is being run with 10,000 high school boys in schools across the country. And what the program is trying to do, it has various initiatives, and it is working to raise a nation of good men to address the gender-based violence crisis.